What Lonzo Thinks is a wide-ranging, free-flowing discussion where I offer up my unsolicited views on everything from movies, television, sports, religion, pop culture, politics, you name it. If it's happening, I'm talking about it. My thoughts are unsolicited, but hey, if you're listening, I guess you want to hear my unsolicited thoughts, so thanks a lot. Appreciate that. All right, next up on my list of PRiNCe reviews is the RAiNBOW Children. Now, what I'm doing is a retrospective review of every PRiNCe studio release from the beginning to, sadly, the end. And we are on release number 24, the RAiNBOW Children. Now, the RAiNBOW Children marks PRiNCE's return to using his government name, PRiNCE, versus the unpronounceable symbol. And it also was a huge departure from what his fans were used to hearing from him. The RAiNBOW Children is a very bold concept album. One of the boldest releases PRiNCE ever laid on us. And bolder than Dirty Mind, in my opinion. It's a very bold release. It involves him exploring his spirituality, religion, sexuality. It's a very dank album, and it's definitely an acquired taste. It's not a mainstream release. It's not something that was meant to sell 50 million copies. It was definitely a passion project, I think, for PRiNCE, something very personal for him, and it's one of his releases that I appreciate most of all. I really appreciated the RAiNBOW Children. And I remember when I first got this the first time I listened to it, actually I was married at the time to my first wife, and we had my second wife. That's for a different conversation. All right, my real wife. Okay, anyways, we had just bought our first house together, and we were in the process of moving in and everything. And in the back of the house, there was like this little man cave that I carved out for myself. And I was back there with my son, my young son, Noah. He was probably, good Lord, 3, 4 years old, maybe 5 at the time, very young. And he was back there with me. And I put the CD on for RAiNBOW Children, was listening to it as I was straightening up and unpacking and putting my man cave together. So it was my first time listening to it, and I guess it's all the more special to me because I listened to it with my son, which made for an even more enjoyable experience. So I knew nothing about the album when I first put it in. The only song I knew about was The Work, which I heard sometime before, maybe a couple years before I had gotten a copy of it as a boot. So that was the only song that I was really familiar with. So when I put it on, and it started playing, I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And the melodies and just the concept really overtook me because it wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting a straightforward PRiNCE jam-filled release, and it was nothing like that. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. So that being said, let's jump into it. All right, the first track is, of course, the title track, the RAiNBOW Children. And as I said before in previous reviews, PRiNCE loves to open up his albums with a sprawling, epic type of a first cut. And RAiNBOW Children is definitely sprawling. It's 10 minutes plus long. And it's, now the entire LP is a fusion, jazz, hybrid. I can never quantify what exactly the RAiNBOW Children is. It is just something for the ears to behold. So the RAiNBOW Children is a sprawling cut. It's slow and meandering. It really kind of builds to a crescendo, and the instrumentation is absolutely marvelous on this song. Just marvelous. I love when PRiNCE forays into fusion jazz type work, and on the RAiNBOW Children, on the LP and on the opening track, he is definitely in his element. It's a sprawling track, a great track. The instrumentation is absolutely marvelous. Next up is Muse to the Pharaoh. It's a perfect follow-up to RAiNBOW Children, and the song just kind of blends right from Rainbow Children into Muse to the Pharaoh, and his vocalizations on this LP are just so heartfelt, and it is. I've always had a hard time quantifying this record. Just to say that his vocalizations are just pure. I guess that's the best way to put it. Just pure. And Muse to Pharaoh is a perfect segue into Digital Garden, which is track number 3. And Digital Garden, once again, it's just that. It has a digital sound to it. This is gonna be a tough review for me because it's hard for me to quantify these songs. Digital Garden is great. Next up is The Work. Now, The Work is The Work Part 1, actually. And The Work is the track that I heard some years before. I got it as a boot. It's a sprawling jazz type of a cut, and once again, it fits this LP perfectly. Great song. I loved it then. I love it now. I listen to it a lot. Next up is Everywhere, followed by The Sensual, Ever After, and Mellow. So I'm just basically just running through each of these titles because, like I said, this is a tough review because on this record, all the tracks are marvelous and they are hard to quantify. Just hard to quantify. So really, I can't really do it justice by really going in depth on each song. It's just something you got to hear to kind of understand. But it's Everywhere, The Sensual, Ever After, Mellow, 1 + 1 is 3, followed by Deconstruction, Wedding Feast, and She Loves Me For Me, which is track number 11. She Loves Me For Me is probably my favorite song to listen to on this record. It's a straightforward, it's probably the most straightforward song on this LP. Lyrics and verse and bridge and so on and so forth. And it's, once again, kind of hard to quantify, but it's a straightforward song, and I just like what he's talking about. He's talking about this girl, and she loves him for me. She loves me for me, and I like the verses, especially when he says, "She don't like no beef. She loves me for me." Next up is Family Name, followed by The Everlasting Now, and the last track is Last December, which is track number 14. Last December is also a great song. It's the the third longest cut on this particular record, and I love the vocalization and the melody and the crescendo, and it's a perfect closing for this record. Now, the Rainbow Children also marks PRiNCe's coming out as a Jehovah's Witness and his spiritual, I guess, reawakening or awakening, and how it kind of fed into his musical taste and the way that he performed his music moving forward in life. And the story is that he was introduced to Jehovah's Witnesses by his friend, the bassist Larry Graham from Graham Central Station. Also used to play bass for Sly Stone. And I've always been kind of torn about PRiNCe's conversion into Jehovah's Witness, because we lost the PRiNCe that we knew and loved from before, basically. And he became more sensitive, and he changed a lot of the way that he performed his songs. He stopped cursing as much, or cursing altogether, changing lyrics, and really kind of toning down his songs because of his new spiritual beliefs. Which, as a person, you never want to decry someone's spiritual awakening or religious beliefs, so you want to respect that. But as a fan of his music, it kind of bothered me because his music really toned down, or at least the edge. It took the edge off his music, and the selfish part of me, who loved that nasty PRiNCe, I always kind of twinged a little bit when he would kind of openly go into his religious beliefs and how it affected the way he performed his music. And that I was always kind of torn by that. So I feel kind of bad even saying the things that I'm saying, because once again, you never want to put down someone for their religious beliefs. You know, I'm not into Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm ignorant to them, to be honest with you. All I know is those are annoying folks who come to your house and you do your best to shoo them away. And I never really tried to look into the practices and the beliefs of the Jehovah's Witnesses. This is just something that I guess as a Christian, I just never really cared to learn more about. And I use the term Christian loosely as well, because I came up in the church and everything, but I'd be lying if I said I was a church, I was a church going person or a Bible thumper, because I'm not. You know, I spent a good portion of my life backsliding. Gotta admit it. Hey, call a spade, and that's what I be. But at the same time, you know, I want to respect anyone's religious beliefs, including PRiNCE's. And I just felt, you know, it's kind of selfish for me to say, hey, you know, stay one way and please me, because he had to walk his own path. And respectfully, I get it. And the RAiNBOW Children really personified that switch in his life. And that is what makes, I guess, this record so special. And like I said, I shared it with my son, which made it extra special as well. And as far as the quality of the music goes, it is top notch. The RAiNBOW Children is definitely a masterpiece. It's not something that everybody wants to listen to, is going to listen to, because there's not a hit song on this record. There's not a jam on this record. There's not, you know, your typical PRiNCE, you know, funk song on this record. It is a jazz fusion concept release. It is a masterpiece, but it's definitely an acquired taste, and I think his most ardent fans like myself really get it and get into it and listen to it on a regular basis, because I do. But it's definitely something that I would never, I wouldn't even recommend it to a casual fan, because they might listen to the first couple of tracks and put it down if they can get through the first track. So it's definitely something that I think us diehard PRiNCE fans, we can kind of hold close to our hearts and say, hey, he made this one for us. I guess is the best way I can put it. Oh, and also the artwork on the album is magnificent. It's a pretty album just to look at. It's one of his best pieces of work, and I highly recommend it to his diehard fans. I've always said, if someone came from outer space and said, hey, tell me something about this PRiNCE cat, what's he all about? I would love to have that person or that alien or whatever the hell that thing is to sit down and listen to RAiNBOW Children with me, and just to see how they will respond. Who knows, they might not like it and want to zap me and blow my head off. Who knows, and suck my brain out. Who knows? What do you think? Chime in. I know this review is kind of different from my other reviews, but this is a different kind of a record. What do you think? What are your thoughts on RAiNBOW Children? Am I off base? Could you get through it? Did it move you, or was it just a meandering mess? Do you like PRiNCE's forays into jazz fusion? Did you think that he represented himself well on his jazz works? What do you think about his religious conversion? How did you take it? Did you take it as personal as I did? And did you want him to stay? And did you want to resist his change and the things that he did as far as changing up his music and making it less robust and more saccharine? What do you think? Let me know. Hit me up at WhatLonzoThinks, Twitter. WhatLonzoThinks@gmail.com. Patreon. Drop some loot on me if you want. I really appreciate your comments. This thing is really starting to take off, and I really appreciate my listeners, because I get a lot of responses every day, and more responses, and I look forward to seeing those responses. I look forward to responding to those responses. So keep it up, keep hitting me up, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. It's nice to know that my thoughts are appreciated, not just on my PRiNCE reviews, on everything that I talk about. Oh man, I got some scathing feedback on the Santa Claus one there, though. If you get a chance, take a listen to The Conundrum of Santa Claus, and go ahead, let me have it. If you don't like it, I understand. But anyways, I'm off track. I digress. Hit me up. Let me know what you think. The Rainbow Children, PRiNCe. Hit me up. What do you think? I loved it. It's a masterpiece. What do you think? Because this is what Lonzo thinks. This is what Lonzo thinks. What do you think? This is what Lonzo thinks. Bye.